right, we are back. Ready for it? Ready? Lions, baby!
Lions,
Shout out
baby!
Ryan Ermanni. He hits that every time.
He's so enthusiastic.
Oh, I try and do that. I try and bring it for you guys here. For the people. Man of the people. Welcome back to Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder, though. My name is Booner. Broder always next to me here on the desk. Jalen in the TD booth and JB today in the sound booth. Nick will be back tomorrow. He is still in Tampa Bay. He's holding it down there. I think he sacked Baker Mayfield a few times.
Maybe.
I think he did.
Bake-off.
Probably passed out on a plane somewhere.
Yeah.
Too much Kool-Aid.
A lot. Yeah, he didn't have as much as me though.
Diabetes.
Oh, I don't know. Did I put that video in there, Jalen, in the Slack? The Kool-Aid video? We'll have to play that at some point. Because I literally almost died. I was drinking it, and it started going up my nose instantly. I've done it 4 or 5 times now. I should know, but I was drinking it, and then it just went straight up my nose. I almost killed myself. Ooh. I had to pull it back down and then go again.
If there's any way to go, that'd probably be the best way.
Drinking the Kool-Aid for the Detroit Lions,
for the boys.
100%.
FTB.
All right, we're going to get into it here. We posed a question, boys, and if you guys haven't yet, make sure you guys hit that like button, share the stream with someone. We're talking right now Detroit Lions Super Bowl. That it's crazy that we're talking about it. Me and Broder both gave the ceiling out, I think, at the beginning of the year, and we both said the ceiling should be Super Bowl, 12, 13 wins, and have a chance at the NFC Championship. That's the question we want to pose. We already have 42 votes, Broder, in the chat, and it says 93% of people so far in the chat.
I think that's 40 out of 42.
40 out of 42 people.
Yeah.
40 out of 42 people in the chat right now say the Detroit Lions can win the Super Bowl, and they are Super Bowl contenders. Broder, where do you stand on this?
I'm just going to answer the question literally. Are the Lions officially Super Bowl contenders? Yes, they are. This should be their expectation. They should expect to get to the NFC Championship game, and they should expect to be able to beat any team in the NFL. I'm not ready to put them in front of the 49ers yet. But they can certainly compete with them. They can play with any team in this league, and maybe this single game didn't just prove it, but the body of work that they now put together for these 6 games.
Yep.
And even tie back a little bit of last year, because I think some of that mojo does factor in. But again, just this year, their body of work proves that they can play with anyone. They can win any type of game. They can definitely be Super Bowl contenders. Booner, what do you think?
I do. When I talk Super Bowls, I want to throw my glasses on because this is a serious conversation. This is not a joke. We don't joke around about things like this. Being a contender is not a joke. You are right now the Detroit Lions. I'm so happy to be able to say this. The Detroit Lions are Super Bowl contenders. Broder, nice. to your point.
Yeah.
And I saw someone in here, I think it was Wild West put in here, the Lions would be underdogs against a couple of these teams. They would be underdogs maybe, yes, on the road, but they would only be, 2 or 3 point underdogs on the road? Like, if you go to the 49ers right now, I bet you the spread is about -3.
Yeah.
-3.5. And guess what? Home teams get 3 points, so it's basically even there.
Yeah.
So I truly believe this Detroit Lions team, something I've been very passionate about and been I've talked a lot about, is that if you are a top 15 team, and yes, top 15 in defense and offense, last year there was only 4 or 5 teams that were top 15 in both, and all 4 of those teams were contenders.
Yeah.
And they all were there where you could say, yep, they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And guess what the Detroit Lions are right now, fellas? They're not top 15 in both. They're top 10 in offense, and they're top 5 in offense, and they're top 10 in defense right now.
That's wild.
This team is a serious football team right now we're talking about. If they end up getting a 1 or a 2 seed, let's say they get a 2 seed and they play the Eagles at home, I would say they actually might be favored.
Yeah.
And they probably win that game, and I would bet on them to win that game.
Yeah.
And remember, I don't lose. So I'm not going to give you out for them to win that game if I didn't believe it.
We need to make sure you place that bet because you don't lose. You don't.
Yeah.
But, dude, the Lions, so they have a guy who will be in the MVP conversation. They have a guy who will be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. They have an OC, an offensive coordinator, and a defensive coordinator who will both be very high up candidates for head coaching positions next year. And this team doesn't fear anybody. And they get that from their head coach, from Dan Campbell. There's a lot about that all the signs are pointing in the right direction. They got the easiest schedule. They've proven they can win on the road. All these things, they're checking off the box. They're checking off all the things that championship teams need to be able to do to win a championship. It's not something we've experienced often, if ever, here in Detroit, here in a lot of our lifetimes. But it's real. They're proving it in front of our eyes. And there's still a very long season in front of us. It's kind of like it's kind of like they're bobbing for apples.
Yeah.
Like, you can see what you want. It's right there. You know what you have to do, but it's not easy. It's not easy to just go grab it. They still got to go win these games. Get to the NFC Championship game. They got to win a playoff game first.
That's the biggest thing too, because in the NFL, like you look at the 49ers the last 4 or 5 years, they have been there. They have been one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFC the last 4 years. But guess what? They just have never been able to get it done. And it's tough to do that. It's tough to get over that hump. And we can sit up here and say, yeah, they're Super Bowl contenders. They are. You have to go win those games still. We have, like, the Detroit Lions haven't won a playoff game since the 90s. Just to be, for us, like, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee they're winning the Super Bowl. That's an insane thing to do because they haven't won a playoff game since the 90s. So that's where they're contenders. Yes, you have to go show us.
But have you seen Suits?
I have not.
Have any of you guys seen Suits?
Great show.
I think of the Niners like Harvey Specter and the Lions like Mike Ross.
I know Harvey from Batman.
Yeah, they're just the veteran, different Harvey. Harvey Dent, is that from Batman?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Harvey Dent.
Yeah, Two-Face.
But Mike Ross is the up and coming. Like, they're built very similarly. Mike Ross is the up and coming attorney at this law firm, but he's quick. He's innovative. He's takes a lot of what he learns from Harvey Specter, from the 49ers, and puts their own little spin on it. And in court, in competition, in the game, anybody's beatable. Mike Ross can go beat Harvey. The Lions can definitely go out and beat the 49ers too. It's one of those things. The Lions win by dominating up front, and there's something special about that. And that travels well. That plays well in the playoffs. That plays well in hot weather, in cold weather, in snow and rain. When you're built like that, and I still have a few questions on the defensive line, even though they have proven it to me, that offensive line is dominant.
There are, on every team, there's going to be questions. Even on the 49ers, I'm sure as a 49ers fan, I'm sure they can pick out something like we are right now with the Lions team. Jalen, do you have something over there?
Yeah, like, as a fan, like, we get very, caught up in the hype. Like, we've seen 0-16. We've seen, 5-0, then we end up, losing the next, like, whatever games we lost. The only thing I'm worried about is that it's a one game, it's one elimination. You know what I mean? Like, we should win, but in football, you lose once you're out. So, like, us being contenders, man, I just hope we don't let the hype, us being there for the first time, stuff like that, get to our heads. Because a lot of those guys, they haven't seen playoff experience, you know what I mean? They're young, stuff like that. So, just know, like, if you lose, you're done. Like, it's not like any other sport. So, I hope if we get there, we lock in and stay focused, we'll be fine. We could beat anybody, but just don't let the hype, get to our heads and whatnot.
Do you think, Jalen, and this is, I think, something we can all kind of, the Seahawks game, that loss kind of put those guys in reality? I know the playoffs is like a different turn, but you guys remember Dan Campbell after that Seahawks loss came out in the press conference and was pretty vocal about how he felt like he not let the team go or kind of go, but he was like, hey, there were things that we went away from because we were so comfortable after that Chiefs win to where we just got hit in the head out of nowhere, and the Seahawks did that to us. I think now, and even going to the playoffs is going to be different. I do think like a Dan Campbell type guy will be able to hopefully keep these guys kind of grounded and be like, hey, this is a one game season. You guys better lock in.
I do believe that's the key to this. It's the coaching staff. They have the experience. They have
feels like it.